You're keeping a close eye on the landmark social media addiction trial happening right now in Los Angeles. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is currently on the stand testifying in the case centered around whether social media platforms knowingly designed their apps in a way that harms children. Meta and Google's YouTube are the defendants in this case. The companies deny the claims that their products are to blame for mental health issues in children. Joining us now, NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos with us as well. Brian, I'll start with you. What have we heard so far from Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, and our producers based out of LA that are in court have described it as a very combative in terms of the line of questioning between Mark Zuckerberg and the plaintiff's attorney. What we're hearing from Mark Zuckerberg is kind of a line of questioning about whether or not Facebook was aware of the risks by creating a social media algorithm that could become addictive, specifically among young teens and younger children in a way that could lead to mental health issues like depression and anxiety. Mark Zuckerberg appearing to give a lot of these kind of canned, seemingly PR-approved responses to things where there are certain emails that have been brought up. He says, I don't recall those emails. But again, the plaintiff is trying to paint this picture that this company, and I should point out that YouTube is also a defendant in this case, but at least in the case of Meta, they were aware of some of these risks. And I think now they're trying to bridge the second bit of their argument, which is that knowing that they were addictive also can lead to substantial mental health issues in younger people.
And Danny, this is the first time Mark Zuckerberg has testified before a jury, right, like this at a trial. As you listen, because this is a big opportunity, such a high-profile person on the stand for the plaintiff's attorneys, what do you make of the questioning so far?
This may be the first time he's testified in front of a jury, but he has been prepared ad nauseum for weeks, if not months, by his attorneys. And it's true, he is coming off a little bit combative. He has to be careful with that because you don't want to turn off the jury. Unfortunately, they're already seeing one of the richest people on earth testifying, and that gives them a reason to maybe think, oh, are you a little bit haughty? Are you a little bit arrogant? So he's got to be very careful, but he's got to walk a line. He's got to basically say, look, with things like filters, for example, he's testifying about filters. We saw that they may have some adverse health consequences, give people bad self-image, but we didn't want to be too paternalistic. We didn't want to be too controlling. We didn't promote it. We allowed them to have it. It's a thin line.
Danny, last week, the head of Instagram testified and said that social media use can be problematic, but that's not the same as, quote, clinical addiction. What kind of bar does the plaintiff here have to cross to prove that they've done something wrong?
You just said it. Clinical addiction, to me, is the magic word for the plaintiff's burden of proof, which is only a preponderance of the evidence, and here's why. Virtually every product, especially a product that is designed for engagement and entertainment, the company makes money the more you're engaged and the more you're entertained. But every product on earth is potentially dangerous depending on the dosage, whether it's cars, whether it's water, anything. So the line that the defense has to walk is that, yes, this is a product that encouraged engagement. It's how we make money. But it didn't cross the line into clinical addiction. And even if it did, it wasn't our intent, and we didn't push it out there knowing that.
And Brian, last thing, I just want to ask about this interesting moment earlier in court in the proceedings today. AI smart glasses were in the room.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit dystopian, but the judge not happy with apparently some people in the courtroom that were wearing these smart glasses that can record. This is in Danny, as I understand it, federal court where you're not supposed to be recording audio or video. And so the judge was not happy about that at all. I think we just played the video of Mark Zuckerberg going into court. I think you might be able to see some of the individuals wearing those smart glasses. A lot of these are manufactured by Ray-Ban Meta, the Meta Ray-Ban Gen 2s or Wayfarers, perhaps. You could see on that gentleman with the AirPod as well in his left ear. But seemingly the judge saying you should not be having these and should not be recording those in court. If you did record, you have to delete those.
They would have surrendered that at security. They get a little cubby hole. They have to turn in the phones. You cannot bring those things in.
But it sounds like maybe they didn't surrender them in time. Okay. All right. Interesting. Brian Chung and Danny Savalos, thank you both. Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.